Blood Blockade Battlefront has some of the coolest names I have ever heard. Blitz T. Abrams, Zap Renfro, Klaus von Reinhardt's, Stephen A. Starface. Not only that, but this week's episode of Triple B had vampires. That's right, it wasn't enough that Libra was fighting against aliens, monsters, ethereal demons. Now they're gonna have to combat the bloodsuckers. This week's episode was a lot of fun. Lots of badass action scenes, tons of new characters introduced, lots of intrigue and some questions, and also, I gotta say, Libra throws one hell of a party. That opening scene was a lot of fun. Just getting to see the characters sort of let loose, relax, see a few new characters introduced, like this one new big guy by the name of Patrick. He apparently is Libra's weapons dealer, and he basically supplies them with all of their needs. What I really love about this guy is that he's actually voiced by the guy who does the voice of Joseph Joestar from Stardust Crusaders. And that's perfect, because they introduce vampires in this episode, so that's just amazing. His assistant doesn't do much, and she's basically just like a gluttonous, cute little girl. But it's his assistant, and they're there, so I'm sure we're going to see them again. What is interesting, though, is at the very beginning of the episode, Leonard is actually hanging out with White's brother. At least, I don't know if they're hanging out or if he's just appearing in front of him, but they're hanging out on a train, and he's sort of explaining how the actual population of Hell Salem's Lot works. While this is going on, Leonard notices this odd girl outside the train who's giving off this red-crimson aura. He explains this to everybody at the party, and the entire party just stops immediately. Like, the record scratch is there, they're actually playing records, so that joke actually has a lot more meaning there. And they all basically gang up on him, and Zap Renfro lets him know that he ran into a vampire, or blood breeds as they actually call them in this show. So, in order to get rid of a vampire, we're going to need a vampire expert. Van Helsing's on vacation, so they're just going to have to go with Blitz T. Abrams, otherwise known as Lucky Abrams. His name is incredibly ironic because he brings dread and doom wherever he goes. He's incredibly unlucky because since he's so obsessed with vampires, he's actually been cursed by them. So wherever he goes, disaster will follow. He'll be okay, but everyone around them is going to be destroyed. So everybody in Libra doesn't even want to get close to him. And there's a lot of scenes in the episode where Zap has to accompany him everywhere. And wherever they go, there is just destruction everywhere. And it's hilarious just getting to see Zap's actual, reactions to all of this. Because you know he's just thinking, any second, I'm about to die. And it could be just as funny as a train being destroyed by this massive, weird skull demon, or this one scene where they're walking down this stairway and a freaking beam just drops, and luckily Klaus is there just to grab it. But just Zap freaking out after seeing that and just begging to get away from Lucky Abrams is really funny. Lucky himself, I think, is a really fun and incredibly just eccentric character. He really, really has a great design. I especially love when they show him for the first time, and when they do this for every character, when they actually show what their name is, what their occupation is, and something about them. I love how his just says mustache. Awesome. Lucky and Leonard decide to team up and use their abilities in order to find these vampires or blood breeds, and there's 13 elders that they're actually looking for. In their research, they accidentally find out, though, that there's actually tons of these things, and they're swarming all over Hell Salem's Lot. To make matters worse, there is this crazy action scene with Kekkai and Stephen A. Starface as they're going up against a couple of blood breeds, and this action scene is so awesome because not only are they fighting against the vampires, but the vampires have actually taken control of these humans, which are riding in freaking robot mobile suits. That is awesome. So we get a lot of scenes with them using their big flashy techniques, and I especially love how whenever they do these big anime styled attacks, they do the old school freeze frame, show the name of the attack, they say the name of their attack, but I love when they do theirs at the same time when they take out these robots. It's just really freaking incredible. And then they fight against the vampires, and the vampires for the most part completely wail on them. In particular, that one female character who gets shot in the head and then all of these bats fly out of her face. Klaus then suddenly just shows up out of nowhere to open up a freaking case of whoop ass, and he uses this technique where he punches her, says all of this crazy stuff which I'm not even going to try to pronounce, and basically seals her up in this tiny little cross. It's really flashy, and it's the type of scene that I can't do any justice. It just looks really awesome. With the blood breeds defeated, Libra makes their way back to their headquarters, a few of them actually getting out just by the skin of their teeth. All while this is going on, there's this other subplot which is involving the brother of White, an incredibly mysterious character who seems like he's obsessed with Leonard's eyes. Now, at the very end of the episode, he calls himself the King of Despair, and it looks like he's actually going to be working with that character Fempt, who was seen in the very first episode, that weird sort of demonic terrorist. I really can't wait to see where this is going and how this is all going to tie into White, whose story I just don't understand yet. I'm not really sure what they're trying to do with this, but I'm intrigued. I especially like the fact that her scenes and the ones with the brother are sort of like the beginning and the bookend of every episode. You know, they don't seem to like ever invade like the main story. So what's the rundown on this week's episode of Blood Blockade Battlefront? This was a really great episode right here. You know, the whole vampire angle thing, not exactly that original, but considering that they've already explained that Hellsalem's Lot is like a city made up of all these like different weird creatures and like aliens from other dimensions, they can get away with that here, and it looked really cool. Like, I especially love that the vampires actually don't like suck blood like in the typical fashion, like when they go for the neck. They actually kill someone, and then they just like sort of slowly suck in the blood, and it just like goes into their mouth. It's real creepy, but it's animated in a really cool way. The vampires themselves pretty much just look like typical anime vampires, though, you know, just anime characters with red eyes and sharp fangs. That's pretty much it. There's only so much you can do with the vampire look. But despite that, that final action scene where Klaus got in there and did that one big ceiling technique, that was so well animated and just looked so amazing, especially when she was starting to transform into the cross. It actually looked incredibly painful as her entire body was twisting around, arms, legs, and then became this small little thing that just, ding, it's on the floor. That's all it is. But other than that, my favorite scene was the party scene at the very beginning. There was just a lot of little things going on in the background and everything. Like, the whole time they were talking, I was actually watching Sonic the Mock Monkey trying to open this bag of potato chips, and in the next scene, he's actually like trying to balance stuff, and on the other side, you have Patrick's assistant who's constantly eating different food. In the background, you can see Zap Renfro, who's drunk as shit, just bumping into everybody, and KK having to help him out. It's a really awesome scene, and one scene that really impressed me was actually how they gave the title card for this week's episode. This week's episode is called Bloodline Fever. When they actually reveal that Leonard saw a vampire, they show this like old like record cover, and it says Bloodline Fever, it has a vampire on it, and then it just zooms in on it, and that's actually the title of the episode. And I just thought that was really cool, because it never took you out of the episode at all. Because a lot of the times you're watching an anime, things get really tense, title card pops up, everything's static, and it just sort of takes you like, okay, alright, that's the name of the episode. But this just flowed really freaking well. On the technical side of things, this was a wonderful looking episode. Just like the rest of the series, it's got a lot of really great style, just because they really do what they want. And now that they're going with vampires, it's just really gothic and really dark, and I really think that's cool. And there's just so many little touches, like when they're on the train station and they actually arrive, it's this place called Yggdrasil, which is a really nice reference to Yggdrasil, and it actually is like a giant tree. I just think that's really clever, how they're able to incorporate like all this myth and stuff in the Alter World into New York City. It's really insane. Also, just there's a lot of little moments that I think are really funny, like when they're on the train and Zap is freaking out, and the fact that Klaus is really excited to be on the train. The character of Lucky Abrams is really funny and over the top. So, I love this episode right here. I just cannot recommend this series enough. I really can't wait to see what they're going to do with this. Every episode has just been so unique and singular, and yet it's still all connected. I just really like it a lot. So, I'm going to give this week's episode a 4 out of 5. Just really good. You should totally check it out if you've been following the series. I'm going to watch a few more episodes before I delve into the manga version, just because I want to see really what they're doing with this. But still, I'm loving it. Check it out. Awesome stuff. So, you guys know that I liked this episode quite a bit, but what about you guys? What did you think about this week's episode of Blood Blockade Battlefront? There were a lot of new characters who were introduced. Do you have a favorite character from the series, or one who was introduced in this week's episode? You have a favorite scene? What do you want to see from the rest of Blood Blockade Battlefront? Thank you guys for watching my review. Make sure to like it and share it with all your friends, and make sure to subscribe to our channel. That way you can see all of our latest manga and anime reviews. And I am reviewing a lot of anime right now. Just to say a few, I am reviewing JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Assassination Classroom, Seraph of the End, Fate Stay Night, Unlimited Blade Works, One Piece, Arslan Senki, not to mention Naruto Shippuden and Ninja Slayer. So make sure to check those out and help support Super Kami Guru 9000. Thank you guys again for watching, and as always, stay dandy, baby.